Hi, I'm Gillian Utesch. I am the host of a Superwoman Handbook and the author of A White Collar Wife. A White Collar Wife is my personal story through love, loss, and joy. You can listen to it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, anywhere you catch your podcast. This episode is titled Where Rainbows Never Die. I talk about my dog Coco, who was my first adult dog. And you know how it is. You have the dogs when you're a child and it's a family dog, but you're not having to do the monthly heartworm and you're not having to worry about, oh, is she healthy? And when's her next, the next vet visit? It's different having a dog as an adult than having one as a child. And so, yes, I've had dogs all through my childhood and loved dogs, loved being around them. But Coco was my first that I had as an adult. And I adopted her with my husband prior, Josh. And it was so interesting how we arrived at the breed. She was a Boykin Spaniel, and I had never heard of the breed. I knew there was like a Springer and, a Cocker, but I didn't know there was a Boykin. Come to find out, little trivia. You can mark your bingo card. It is the state dog of South Carolina, and they only come in liver brown unless you get a genetic anomaly, you get a blonde. And let me tell you, those little squishes are so stinking cute. So it was Josh who identified that a Boykin Spaniel would be a good breed for us. They are water dogs, they flush, they retrieve, and let me tell you, Coco did all of it like it was nothing. And she was gorgeous. I mean, and she knew it. 100%. Even though they all come in the same liver brown color, you can tell variances and differences. And she was absolutely, people would stop, their mouths would drop. They'd go, oh my God, she's so gorgeous. And she's like, yes, I know, eat your heart out. And so we got Coco through an organization called Boykin Spaniel Rescue. And I highly, of course, I'm, partial, but I highly recommend them if you're looking to adopt a dog or if you're looking for somewhere to donate where the funds are going to do amazing things. Boykin Spaniel Rescue is absolutely where I suggest. So we ended up driving to St. Louis to get Coco. And this was when we were much younger and could set out on crazy things without, concern or worry or someone going, now, does that make sense? So I was driving a Prius at the time, and I would maybe gas my Prius once every third blue moon of a, Thursday. We filled the Prius 3 times. Going to pick up Coco. So we left from our house in North Carolina, drove to a little town in Illinois, and we drove straight just because I was so excited to get there. And when we got to her foster, and I just think about all the things that had to come into play, all the things that had to happen, and I'll kind of tell that story in another episode, but to line us up for us to get partnered, for us to get paired through the rescue with Coco. So we pick her up, and I don't know how to be a dog mom all by myself. Like, I'm used to being a dog sister. I don't know how to be a dog mom. So we pick her up and we're driving to the hotel, and I was traveling a lot for that at that time in my life. And I would just pull up the Hilton app and pick the closest hotel and move on with my life. And it hit me like a brick. I've got a dog now. Not all hotels accept dogs. What am I going to do? Like, how am I going to navigate this? Well, about that same time, it starts snowing because we picked up Coco on Friday, December 13th of 2013. So it's Friday the 13th, and we are driving in a snowstorm to a hotel that doesn't accept dogs. And I was like, you know what? It's fine. It's fine. We're going to figure it out. And so we got to the front desk. We made it. We backtracked enough to make it to Louisville. And yes, I said it right. Kentucky to just check in for the night. And we walk in, and of course the desk clerk sees Coco, and she's like, "Now it's okay. It's cool. It's Louisville, Kentucky. We're dog friendly-ish here, She goes, "Is she a good dog?" I didn't know Coco from the wild cat down the street. I don't know. But I said with confidence, she is the best dog. And we got into the hotel room. She promptly jumps in the middle of the king size bed, curls herself up, plops down. And at that point, we had driven from North Carolina to Illinois ran back to Louisville. So we were ready to, I would have slept on a bathroom tile. I would have slept on a 3x6 bathroom tile. I was so tired. And so we kind of nuzzle in around her and we all sleep until like noon the next day. We're just so, exhausted with this whole event. But it started out where and this is where this is the story that y'all are going to chase me with a butterfly net. I'm sure of it. I'm going to have the sheriff at my door to take me in for an involuntary hold because I'm going to sound so crazy. But this story is what happened. So we pick her up in a snowstorm on Friday the 3rd and stay in a not dog friendly hotel that she has, I'm sure, orchestrated all of this because she was powerful, y'all. Even though she was gorgeous and tiny, she had this silent thunder about her. Again, butterfly net. I saw how she acted just in the world and around other dogs. And I thought, I want to have that silent thunder. I want to be able to be poised, be regal, be gorgeous, but also carry a big fucking stick and everybody know it. I'll talk about our German Shepherd in another episode, but he was terrified of her. And again, dogs don't talk. So it's not like she could talk smack at the water bowl. Apollo, looking good in your hairy self today. So they really had to go about it in a very organic, we'll say mammal, since they're not humans, a very mammal way. So fast forward to where we're starting this chapter on April 20th, 2025. Had left about a month prior and I was still reeling, but had kind of moved into the numb phase of the what in the actual fuck is happening in my life right now section of things. And I was like, you know what? I want to just go. I wasn't working at the time. I was in no condition to work. I had no responsibilities because, he had taken Jane. I was like, what do I have to do? Let's go to the beach. So pulled up some hotel points, book a room down in, and now at this point, I'm a seasoned dog traveler and I know that I need a residence inn. So it is dog friendly. And yes, for those paying attention, I switched from Hilton to Marriott. And there's a lot of reasons why I'll talk about it in a different podcast. So I book a room down in Wilmington and we just pack up and go. And the girls were so cute because they had little matching car seats. And, Sophia, we adopted later. She's also a Boykin Spaniel. So she and Coco look very similar, except, y'all, I feel like this is okay to say because I feel like even as a parent, if your child's not the cutest. Like you just know, okay? We love them the same. Oh my God, I love my little wiggle butt, Sophia. But she kind of has RBF a little bit. I know. But the whole point of this podcast is to be honest and raw. My dog has RBF phase, which does not fit how happy and joyful and wiggle buddy she is because Coco was gorgeous. If Princess Diana was a dog, she would be Coco, okay? So I've got my girls in the back seat, we're heading down to the beach. It came to me just kind of out of nowhere. I didn't go, I want to go on a trip. Should I go to the beach or the mountains? It was this, again, get the butterfly nets out. It was just this arrival. I arrived at this place in my mind without doubt or question that said, we're going to the beach. So we get down to the beach and Coco loved the beach. For my life with Josh, we lived at the beach. So she spent, oh my gosh, usually Mother's Day was the first day that it was warm enough and nice enough to go to the beach. And that's another thing about this story that's not lost on me that I am absolutely convinced, again, butterfly net, I'm absolutely convinced she made it so. She made it so we could get to the beach before Mother's Day because she wanted to get to the beach before she passed away. So it's gorgeous. Gorgeous weather, not a cloud in the sky, not a drop of humidity. So her hair's looking great. And we kind of just walked around the beach. And I promise she was her young self. She still was a little kind of unsteady in her legs at that point, just for various reasons. But she was nose in the air, ears flapping. I could see her smiling. She's trying to do a little trot and be her beach self. And I could tell she was really having an amazing day. She was living her dream in that moment. And then she got tired fairly quickly, but I could tell she didn't want to leave. So we just kind of sat down and hung out on the beach, and she sniffed and flapped her ears, and then she'd get up and kind of trot and frolic around for a minute and come back and sit down. Whereas Coco in, the previous life, y'all, she would hit the steps down from the boardwalk. She'd hit the steps and leap off the last four. She's like, who needs those last four steps, you amateur? I can leap off of them, onto the beach. And she would run 100 miles an hour, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, ears just flapping, kick, like doing a little kick, like she was a rocket going down. It wasn't that on her last beach day, but she was doing her best version of that. So we wrap up the beach day, and I'm already staying down there for a week. So I decided, let's just go out to do things. Let's just go out and explore, this area. So she was having a hard time walking. I had Sophia on the leash, so I ended up getting a baby stroller off of Facebook Marketplace. Facebook Marketplace for the win, okay? But I had to find one that was like a bassinet that was flat, so she could be in it, kind of like a little dog bed on wheels. So I get her little dog bed on wheels, and we're scooting around, and we went to breweries, we went to restaurants, we walked all around downtown Wilmington, we checked out all the historical stuff, and she was loving it. We get home on Wednesday. So wasn't quite the full week in Wilmington. So we get home on Wednesday, and I think, okay, that was fun. We got out of town. Coco got to go to the beach. This may be her last summer. It may not be, but at least we got that out of our system. At least we got that. We've checked that box. I don't feel like I can, with everything in my life that's falling apart, at least this is something that's not falling apart. And I wake up the next day, Thursday, with the exact same feeling that I had the weekend prior. It wasn't an idea. It was go to the river. It was clear in my mind. So my family has a river house in the town where I grew up, and it is absolute heaven. It is set back from the road. There's no neighbors. It's right on the point. So we look, our view is of the river and the sound, and there's no light pollution. Coco has been going there her whole life with us. She loves to run, and she always knew that she couldn't get in the river without permission. She couldn't just leap off the ground, off the bulkhead. She had to be invited in through the stairs and the little step downs. And so I did that on purpose, because even though at that time she was a fit as a fiddle water dog, she was retrieving ducks. She would take the decoy bags and fluff them into a little bed. But anyway, so she's flushing. She went down with Josh to Tallahassee, Florida, and flushed quail. She was at her best physical self. But she still never was allowed to jump in the water without being invited, because I didn't want her to ever think that you could just do that. Kind of like going out of an open door. I didn't want her to think that she could just go out an open door. So I get this calling to go to the river, and I'm like, okay. What else do we have to do? I'm not working. I'm in a very deep depression from just everything with my family being eliminated, that I was like, yeah, let's go, girls. Let's go. Let's pack up and go down to the river. And Sophia had been down to the river a few times prior to that, but not to the extent that Coco had. Coco probably had 10 years of experience on that particular piece of property. So we get down there and hang out Thursday night. Friday, same thing. I put her in her little stroller, and I take her downtown, and I am just rolling her around like she's in a pram. And we're going in all the stores, saying hey to the shopkeepers, and just having a little chill, fun day. That Friday night, I get home, and I was just exhausted. Everything, the last month of my life, trying to figure out what's going to happen next. What do you do when your husband charges your house with stormtroopers and starts packing stuff up without notice, without communication? How do you process and move on? So that's where we were at this stage in life. And so I fell asleep on the couch at like 9 o'clock. I was just like, I'm done with this day. I was like, Scarlett, we'll deal with that problem tomorrow. But I woke up to probably some sham wow infomercial and all that deal about midnight. And I thought, let me take the girls out one more time before I go to bed. Just because I do want to sleep in the morning, and I don't want to have that worry and concern that I need to, because normally the dogs were going out at 6:30 at that time. And so I was like, it was just clear my mind and go forward. Well, we're outside and I had Sophia on a leash because, of course, she's the unknown one. She's the unknown quantity here. But Coco knew that. She knew that property. She knew. So I had her in my eyesight, but not on an actual physical hard leash. And it was a full moon that night. I will never unsee that full moon. And again, butterfly nets, be grateful that there was a full moon that night, because had there not been, this chapter would have ended very differently. And so I'm thankful for that. So we're out about midnight and I got Sophia on the leash and Coco's just kind of tootling around. I turn around because it's not a big yard, so I'm kind of just keeping both in my eyesight. I turn around and I see Coco, who's been strollered most recent, just due to just kind of instability in her gait is the best way I can kind of describe it. And her back legs, if you've watched the movie Bambi, her legs would kind of Bambi on her unexpectedly and she'd fall down. So, she's not in her same physical state where she's flushing quail and retrieving duck. I look and I see her running at a gallop, and if you've ever seen, Google this if you've not seen it because you need this visual. A Boykin Spaniel, when they jump in the water and their front legs are completely straight, their back legs are completely straight, and they're just flat like a diver. She gallops towards the river, leaps off, and jumps in. I was stunned. I was paused. I've never once in my life with her had her jump in a body of water without invitation or without command. So I'm kind of processing this. Plus, it's midnight and I'm alone on the edge of the point of the earth beside a Navy SEAL base. And so I was just like, oh my God, okay. Kind of like when I came in for the stormtroopers, like, oh, okay, there's a dragon in my living room. Let me process this. My dog just jumped in the river and I don't swim. Well, I kind of putter. I can kind of scoot, but you're not going to see me doing, no butterfly like Michael Phelps and 1, 2, 3 breath kick and all that. No. So I always had to wear the non-swimmer band at summer camp, which was really embarrassing. Anywho, so I process it and I see her pink collar just under, and rivers are not clear, y'all. They're very brown and murky. So I see the pink of her collar just under the surface, but thank God the full moon was there. And she is such a good swimmer. I thought she's going to get up. She's gonna pop up. She's gonna Coco, be my little water dog right now. And then I see her pink collar sink a little further beneath the water, and I thought, fuck no, because we've got the sound right there. And I'd already seen her move about 18 inches just in those 2 seconds. I was like, no, this is not how this ends. And I jump in with my pajamas on, and thank goodness that I had kind of pinpointed where her collar was. And I scoop down and I pick her up and I lay her on top of the bulkhead. And I'm just patting her. And I was like, no, Coco, today is not the day. You got to make it to 16. She and I had made a promise that she was going to make it to 16 years old, because she was going to get one of those little Barbie Mercedes, the white ones, on the little Power Wheels, and not have to have her pram stroller. So I put her up on the bulkhead and I'm just shaking her. And I'm like, Coco, no. And I'm screaming to God and I'm screaming to anyone, which was no one, because I'm out there by myself. Then she kind of does and I'm like, oh my God, okay. You wonder how people can lift cars off people. I've heard the stories. In theory, I understand what adrenaline does. But y'all, I am 5'1.5", and this bulkhead was almost in my. How I pulled myself up, because I didn't want to take the time to walk around 45 degrees around the point there to get to where the steps were. I wanted to get to Coco. And so, meanwhile, Sophia, who was on the leash because she couldn't be trusted, I dropped the leash when I jumped in the river after Coco, was just laying in the yard. Wasn't trying to do anything stupid. Wasn't trying to be crazy. She could tell, she knew that there was some shit going down. And so I pick up Coco and I start to run to the house, but my pajama pants, because it was still that kind of in between weather, my pajama pants were so full of water I couldn't move. And I'm like, forget it. I'm just going to take them off, because there's, again, no one around. And so now I'm running without pants through the yard, holding Coco. Sophia, bless her, followed right behind me. We get in the house. My first instinct was get in the shower, get her warm, get all this river funk off of her, and let's, go from there. So we're in the shower, and I'm like, okay, I got to get the shirt off. So then I'm washing her, and she's just shaking, and I can feel that she's breathing heavy. And I thought, she drowned. I'm holding her. She's alive, but she drowned. So we finish our shower. I kind of come to my senses and I think to myself, there is no emergency vet here. There is absolutely, I'm in the middle of nowhere. There's 3 stoplights now. There was one when I lived there, but I Googled and there was an emergency vet. I I said, Coco, only you would bring yourself back. The river was her favorite place. She loved to be down there because she could run free. She loved being in the water. If a dog had a little pillow on her dog bed that said, this is my happy place, it was at our river house. And so, in that moment, in the midst of the hysteria and just the midnightness of it, I was like, I knew you were powerful. Again, get the butterfly nets out. Get the butterfly nets out because I'm a crazy person. I said, I knew you were powerful, but you're the only dog I know that planned the last week of her life. She loved Wilmington. She loved hanging out at the beach. She loved strolling around downtown. She loved being at the river house. She curated the last week of her life to her favorite things. And I just have to, only she would do that. And so we get dressed, dressed, and I put Sophia in the car, and I'm like, we're going to take Coco to the doctor, and we may not come home. And I need you to know that when we get into the car, that doesn't always mean we're not coming home. Sometimes, sometimes it's the right time to not come home. And Sophia just laid down. She didn't, so we get to the vet, and I called when I was on the way. So in case there was a line, we're in the middle of nowhere. It's midnight. I mean, there could be a wait, in the ER, the doggy ER. We get there and they were so gracious. They met me at the door with a stretcher. They put Coco on it. At this point, she's really laboring to breathe. And I was glad that I got there as quickly as I could because I knew that she was uncomfortable. And doesn't even do imaging, doesn't even nothing because she didn't need to. She says, your dog drowned. She's alive right now, but she drowned. And we need to do the kind and humane thing and finish this. And I was like, yeah. They say that when you own a dog, there's only one sad day. And that is so true. And then the vet said, I think she could tell I was kind of losing it. And she says, drowning is a very comfortable way to die. And a lot of animals go to water when it's time to die. So she's like, it's not, I don't think you're crazy. I don't think it's, I think Coco purposely knew it was time for her to go. And she went to water to die the most peaceful way she knew how to do it. Again, get the butterfly nets out. Get the butterfly nets out. Crazy person here. So Sophia and I, we went to McDonald's and she got an ice cream, even though it was like, 3 a.m. I was like, is your ice cream machine working? Because at McDonald's, their ice cream machine is never working. And I was like, look, we have had a family emergency. We need ice creams over here. Okay. So she got an ice cream and I got a coffee and we just kind of sat there. And I said, okay, what's next? What do we do now? We are down Coco. What do we do next?